Good morning. Today we have the joy of hearing one of Jesus' favorite things to tell people, a parable. Now, if we're honest, a lot of us hear the word parable and think, oh yeah, Jesus says these things a lot. Okay, Jesus, we get it. Stop saying cryptic stories about what the kingdom of God might look like. But actually, a parable is a brilliant tool. And Jesus knows it, and that's why he uses them so often, because a parable isn't just a simple moral message or a nice children's story that's wrapped up and tied with a bow and hunky-dory. A parable is a lesson that is, yes, a little cryptic, but it makes adults think. It makes you use your brain. It almost is like a mirror, because lots of people will take away a lot of different things from the same parable. The goal of Jesus using parables is that we are in fact sponges, that we need to soak up the message of the kingdom, and he does it through very, very thoughtful storytelling. This parable, who knows it or has heard it before? You know all the different places the seeds were scattered. We see them here on our on the visual here. We have, let me see, I'm looking at it on my, we got the crows, we got the rocks, we got the sand, we got the thorns, and then we have what looks like luscious wheat. Jesus is taking something so ordinary to the people in first century Israel, and he's letting them have holy imagination about how to connect the ordinary with the extraordinary through God. People always saw, smelled, or handled bread and coins and dirt. And he would talk about these things and sheep. He loves sheep. He talks about these things so that it could turn into a window, so that people can take the things they know and they can turn it into extravagant, amazing, miraculous ways that God is working through and around them. So this parable that you all have heard, the setting of this is pretty amazing. Because Jesus, when he delivers this message, he isn't tucked away in some sanitized room just with his disciples. He isn't standing at the temple where everything is orderly and refined. He is on a boat, on the water, and the people are standing at the edge of the lake. They cannot get close enough to him. But he put space between them, which I don't know the reason as to why. But he's standing on a boat on the Sea of Galilee, and along the water's edge are crowds and crowds of people. At this point in his ministry, people know what's up. They've heard about this guy from Nazareth who is talking kind of amazing things. And these people who have walked miles are craving to hear the word. These aren't the religious elites who think they have it all together. These are ordinary, working-class fishermen, fisherwomen, calloused hands, mothers of children, people struggling under the weight of the Roman occupation. These are people in pain, who have felt shame, who are riddled with guilt. And they've heard these whispers of that young rabbi, and they want to know more. They're longing to hear something of hope. They're longing to hear that promise is coming, that goodness will show up. So Jesus looks out at them from the boat. I'm assuming he's swaying, and they're all there waiting. And he starts to talk about farming. He tells them about a sower who went out to sow seeds. If you are a farmer or gardener and I make a mistake about farming or gardening verbiage, please let me know after. This is not where I shine in the farming world, so this is due with all of my very quick research here. All right, so this farmer, he comes through this countryside and he's just flinging seeds everywhere without reverence, with unreserved abandon. To many of us, this story seems just like a story, but to this crowd who made their living by creating and thriving in perhaps a lot of farmland, this sower is a fool. This sower is wild and extravagant and reckless Because grain was precious. The seed was your family's livelihood, your winter supply, your future harvest. This is how you lived. To waste a single grain was a shameful thing. Farmers would carefully clear the field, pull up the rocks, mark the boundaries, scatter the seeds, that they knew where they had a fighting chance to survive. So these people on the edge of the water, they are hearing complete madness. It looks wasteful and foolish and unrestrained, and it is chaos to them. So maybe this will help a little context about actually the fields that they were thrown in. The first one is thrown onto the path. Public footpath cut right through the middle of the open fields. Years and years and years of foot traffic. Dirt was packed down hard as a rock, hard as a stone. So when a seed hit that, it just would bounce and go maybe a milliliter. There's no root there. There's no way anything is penetrating through that hard path. Then we have the rocky ground. Rocky ground is kind of like an image of a garden, maybe a few stones, but there's not a lot of soil in Galilee that sits on the top of a lot of solid limestone. So many places, it's paper-thin topsoil that's covering the rock underneath. And when a seed lands there, it's remarkable because it does take root. It germinates. There's life. There's promise. It's vibrancy. But then the roots hit what beneath that topsoil? Can many plants survive on rock? No. The plant bakes, can't get root, dies the next afternoon. All right, then we have the thorns. This also looks promising, but beneath the surface are these stubborn, choking barriers that are waiting. So when the grain sprouts and it begins to stretch up toward the light, the thorns grow faster, they grow taller, they grow thicker, and they literally trap, choke the daylight out of those plants. Then there's the good soil. Deep, soft, plowed earth. It's been cleared and cared for, a lot like what the kids touched up here. It has nutrients, has goodness. Tiny grains can yield harvest to 30, 60, 100 times what was sown. So now the crowd is standing there, and Jesus is describing these four soils, and then they must have realized that he's not actually talking about dirt, soil. He's talking about human hearts. Because it's actually never about the physical thing Jesus talks about in a parable. It's always about people. So when they realize this, and the soil is actually a mirror to our own hearts, when they realize it's about us, when someone comes up to you and tells you a story that's opposite of what you think, how do you feel? You feel good, really receptive to new information? Or do you feel defensive and ready just to back off and say, you don't know what you're talking about? Our human instinct immediately kicks in, and we want to regain control about our own narrative. And so we want God's grace to be manageable and neat and put in a box with a little bow. We humans want to start inspecting the dirt, looking around the room and looking at our neighbors and saying, oh, you belong in the rocks. Oh, you are definitely a path-goer kind of seed. You, thorn all the way. Not you, Sue. I see you saying that. You, big you. We categorize and put people into these paths, and guess where we put ourselves? In the good soil. That is, every single human alive will do that. Because we think we have it all together. That we are pristine, and we have the good soil, and our hearts are solid, and we know what is up. There's no way that I could be in the path. There's no way that I could be in the thorns, or a thorn at that. I go to church. I'm a good person. My community isn't shallow or choking each other. But if we look closer, all of us have existed in one of these paths in our lives. Some seasons are harder than the others, but we are not one-dimensional people. Maybe right now, maybe we are in the good soil. But every single one of us, and if you're too young to have experienced any of this, I'm so sorry to tell you, it will happen. Because life happens to all of us. But if we are honest, we are not one-dimensional, and we are not just one kind of dirt, soil, whatever you want to call it. If you're honest with yourself, we have been in places where that hard-baked path, where life and grief and betrayal and disappointment have just trampled us down. And we've put up walls that are so hard to knock down. Or we've been in those rocky places where the shallow spots, where we get excited about faith, we come to church, we are really, really open, and then the moment life gets hot, uncomfortable, demanding, our good intentions wither away. Or we're like the thorny place. Those thorny seasons of life where our hearts are choked by, that chronic anxiety, that financial worry, that relentless noise of the world that tells us we are not good enough. That is a chokehold on me, I feel like, all the time, constantly. And then there's that plot of land in all of us, right alongside the hard and the shallow and the thorny places, a plot of rich, receptive, good soil. The seeds in this parable, it's God throwing the seeds across all of those landscapes. Because God doesn't sit in heaven and calculate the return on investment before deciding whether to love you. See how I didn't say love you or not? Because God always loves. Just making sure you heard that. God doesn't inspect your fields and say, that looks complicated. That terrain is way too thorny. No grace for you. That looks really difficult. That wall is way too hard. No grace for you. Nope, that is not how that works. Our God is an extravagant sower who flings recklessly the grace, the seeds of radical, beautiful love, just like the sower in the parable takes it out of the bag and flings it across your entire field of who you are. Some seeds don't take root. Some seeds get scorched by the sun. Some get choked up by that devilish thorns. But one seed is all it takes to find the good plot of soil, for it to help you see and vibrancy, the promise, the hope, the love, the light. Think back to a time in your own life. Recall when you were far from God, when you were lost or hurt or living in a way that just wasn't healthy or whole. In my early 20s, when I finished college and moved out on my own, I thought I was the awesomest, goodest soil that ever could have goodest. I thought I had it all together. Anyone else in their 20s feel like they had it all together? Thinking we're invincible? That we can just do whatever we want and we'll survive it? But I think the 20s of my life were when I felt the most hollow and empty because I didn't know who I was. I didn't know who I was loved by at whole. And I was striving to find this, and I was grasping at whatever I could with whatever mess I had made of my life. Looking back now, hindsight, it's 2020, God was chucking seeds at me left and right. God was patient, though, because he gifted me friends and community, and I had Nick, who was then my long-distance boyfriend. We were in different countries. I had quiet moments of unearned mercy, and God recklessly threw seeds at me, regardless of what terrain I was seated in. And the only reason I got out of that hollow, empty space is because one of those seeds, of the thousands, millions, trillions, floppity zillion seeds God threw at me, one landed on the plot of small, rich, receptive, good soil. It only takes one seed of grace. And that's what makes grace so wild. It's persistent, it's transformative. This parable isn't meant to comfort us. It's meant to show us that through the dark nights and the slow, gentle work of the Spirit, through all of us maturing as we've gotten older, through seeking God by our own measures, the good soil that has the one seed expands. It overtakes the rocks, and it overgrows over the thorns. Jesus is calling us to stop inspecting the soil and placing other people in there and really look inward about where are you among this terrain? Where is this church among this terrain? We have to be honest with ourselves because, the only person who can judge is God. So why do we keep doing it to each other and placing people in different terrain when it's not our job to do so? We are called to scatter forgiveness. We are called to scatter radical, unreserved welcome to people. We are called to scatter the love that opens arms, that embraces people, that makes them feel welcome. We are to show a weary world, a skeptical world, an unjust world, that Christ is actually here and alive and vibrant. Our only job is to throw seeds of love and grace and light with joyful abandon, and to recognize we do not permanently live in the good soil. Spiritual growth is an internal, individual, and a communal effort. Just because you think you've made it to the good soil does not mean that those thorns will not come back. It means that daily practice of surrendering ourselves to God, of praying to God. Who opened their Bible today? Larry brings his Bible to church, so I feel like that was an easy answer for him. But who is communicating with God daily? Some of us think that I've done my growing, I've been here for 40 years, I know I'm in the good soil, blah, 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 parable, whatever, Jesus said this, whatever happens, I'm done. I've grown, I'm comfortable. That is when we know we have more growing to do. So I ask yourself, realistically, where are you in the terrain? How comfortable are you in your terrain? Because sometimes we get really used to the thorns and just say, this is just what it is. But we all deserve to be in the place where it's rich and we are receptive and it is good. God doesn't want us to live in those difficult spaces. That is not the goal. I said this a lot during the Easter season. Fridays, the Good Friday story, that's really hard, really difficult. Talk about choking thorns in that day of the year. The suffocating light that is snuffed out in that moment, we are not supposed to live there. We are supposed to live in the light and in the promise that Sunday that will come always. That good soil that does exist always. We are not perpetual Good Friday people. We are Easter people. People of light, people of promise. So when you encounter the hard places, the thorns and the rocks, take heart, look inward, don't feel guilty, don't feel shameful. Come to this church as you are, because God is actively tending to all of us, throwing a ridiculous amount of grace at all of us. Here you are welcome with whatever soil you are standing on. And here the reckless love of God seeks us all, scatters grace to everyone. Because no plot of land is ever hopeless. You are not a hopeless plot of land. You are good, and you are sacred, and you are loved. And every single person on this earth is worthy of growing in and with God. Thanks be to God. Amen.